mic. I wonder if I need this or not. This goes to your folks. Folks will be watching this. I know other districts pick this up too. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go through some financial aid with you and do this every year with the seniors. I know I told you last week I went to the workshop on Tuesday. I was up at Saline, I was up at KW. We had K-State's financial aid advisor, Pitt State's financial aid advisor, and then we had KW, and who else? Cloud County. So those were the ones that were there, so we covered pretty much every school. So what we'll go through with you guys today is just information about that. Now before I get there, I've got some announcements I need to tell you guys about. Reminder, your scholarship banquet, if you're going to one of the Hutch JUCO ones, tonight it's at 6:30 in McPherson. If you're going to Newton, that's tomorrow night, 6:30. If you're going to Hutch, it's at the sports arena on Wednesday. And several of you have asked me what that really is all about. Just simply show up. It's not assigned seating. You can sit wherever you want to. Dress is casual. You will hear from the people at Hutch JUCO information about their programs. The president will talk. Lynette Hilty will be there, Corbin Strobel will be there, and they will be the ones walking around introducing themselves and handing you your scholarship offers. Now, like I told you earlier, don't panic on it if you don't get a letter or an offer, or if you get an offer and it's not the big offer that you thought, don't worry about it, because that will all change once you turn in your scholarship application, and that's not due till February 15th. And you're going to hear from them tonight and Wednesday night. Turn that in as soon as you can. We want you to wait until your first semester grades are done, your GPA's updated, and then anytime in January we can get that done for you. So don't forget about those. And if you miss the deadline and you need to get in, still need to sign up for those, come see me. Did you guys hear about that Viega opportunity on the announcements on Friday? I don't think anybody in here was looking that way, but if you are, I guarantee you we could probably get you in. We'd get you over with this Jeff Glimpse, and he would get you set up. It was interesting. He said if you work 32 hours a week, $15 an hour, you'd have full benefits at Viega, plus go to school and get your associate's degree free. And you put a pencil to paper there. It's real interesting. I put something on your website this morning from Cody Kennedy, K-State. They extended their scholarship application to December 15th. Never have seen that before. And I wonder if KU, I wonder if Wichita State aren't going to do the same. You know what? I didn't ask Cody, but you know what? It tells me I think they didn't have enough applicants. I think they're struggling to get people in. So you guys are all done though, right? I think every one of you that wanted to turn that in, you met the deadline. If you need to make any changes, still do that. If anybody else is reconsidering, you got 45 days yet, which I would have never guessed that would happen. I just put something on your senior website. Lyons High School has an ACT prep workshop, and that's the closest one we've had to us. Chad, you went to one. Did you go to Manhattan or Wichita State? At Wichita. It's the same. Was it a lady presenter? Couple different. Okay, the person that's putting this on is a K-State prof. Ethan, you went to the one Bueller last year.
Yes.
Was that a gal named Carol? Does that sound familiar? Devane, possibly. That's the same prof that's going to put this on. The bad thing is it's the week you're off for Thanksgiving break. It's that Monday, November 21st, like 10 to 2:30. And if you're still trying to hit a goal on that ACT, what a perfect opportunity for you to go and do that. You need to see me right away though, because she says the spots are going to fill up. And then I put a couple of new scholarship offers on for you guys on the website today, so if you get a chance, take a look at it. And while we're going through this today, you don't need any of your devices out. Matter of fact, it'd be nice if you put the phones away and put the devices away so that you watch what's going on. And guys, I'll tell you this right up front. One of the biggest things that I hear all the time, kids will come back, alumni, well, I'll use Posty as an example, and Greg Postier was here. He said, Pfannenstiel, I asked him, I said, what did we do that might have helped you? He said, probably one of the things my senior year that helped the most is when you went through the financial aid piece with us. Because I guarantee you, you know his story when he sat here. He sat here just like you are today, and he had college he felt paid for. He had help, he had everything ready to go. and he didn't know that there were going to be issues where he wasn't going to get the help that he thought he would. And he said, I had to turn to doing that myself. And he said, I thought back to some of those things, and we're going to have all this on the website. You guys can go back to it. Your folks will get to see it too. And it's not a sales pitch to you to listen. You should listen anyway. But the big thing is today, statistically, we know there's a number of you in here that by the time June and July roll around, what you had planned on doing for next year is going to change. And for some of you that think you've got things in hand right now and everything paid for and taken care of, it's very possible that may change in a heartbeat. An illness, a parent getting laid off, a death in a family. There's a number of things that we just simply go through in life experiences that's going to create some issues for you. So watch carefully. And it's just about finances is what this is today. I always tell students that you want to set and listen to this approach today in the mindset, if I had no money to go on to school next year and I wanted to get my voc ed degree, my college degree, where would I go to get money? And that's what we're going to talk about. Two terms you have to know, and I think you guys know this already. Financial aid is in reference to any type of money you can use for school. And that would be scholarships, that would be grants, that would be loans, which loans is the one you hear the most about. You hear about people coming out in debt so far that they can't hardly live, they can't hardly make it from paycheck to paycheck. That's what we hope to avoid. But we'll talk about some things today here. And let's be honest, for some of you, that may be the ticket for you getting your education. Because I guarantee you there's some of you sitting in the room here, you've had that discussion with mom and dad. We can't help you pay for school. If you want to go on, you're on your own. Some of you may have money laid away. You may have a college fund. You may have people that are willing to help you and able to help you, or you may have worked hard enough already, you've got your own money saved, and that's fine. And then the other thing we tie into financial aid too, we'll talk about a little bit, is work studies, and then we'll go back over some of the scholarship pieces too. One thing that I'd like to share with you guys about this too, the FAFSA, when we talk about that form, and all these recruiters keep asking you about it, that is the application that you have to fill out in order to see if you qualify for financial aid. You must fill out a FAFSA if you want loans from the federal government. And the big sales pitch when I go to these meetings like I do every year is to come back and tell you guys the safest place, and with an election coming up tomorrow, you may not buy into this, but the safest place to borrow money to go on to school, they always tell us, is the federal government, because you'll always be protected, you'll always be covered. The worst places you can borrow from are banks or private agencies, because they at a heartbeat can raise your interest rates, whereas the federal government will not and cannot. So keep that in mind as we go through here. The FAFSA itself, there's only one official website, and we'll show that to you here in a little bit. I'll tell you the quick story. It's been probably 2-3 years ago. Due date on the FAFSA was April 15th. And you know now, October 1 is the starting point. But I had a dad calling me. It was a Monday, and it was a Sunday night before. Had a dad calling me, and he got down to the end of filling out everything. Took him probably 30-35 minutes. And he said, they want $199 for me, or from me to fill this in for my daughter to go on to school. And I knew right away he was on the wrong website. So you got to make sure, and I know your folks, some of you have already done this, make sure you're on the proper website. How many of you in here have already filled out the FAFSA? 3, 4, 6, 8 of you, okay, that I have counted. So we're not quite half, and you're not behind if you haven't filled it out, but what I would tell you is this: once the folks are ready and you're ready to do that, and I don't know if you guys can give me a time estimate or not. I've talked to some of your folks, and some of them said if the technology worked right, you were 20 minutes and you were done. Some said it took longer because I had to upload. They've got some new, they call it the IRS data retrieval tools that they use, and that has really sped up the process of what we enter here. So let's take a look at what you got. You will find this presentation on your scholarship website. So if the folks, if they want to watch this, that's fine. If they don't want to watch it, if they just want to see the changes, if you're the oldest sibling in the family, it might be wise to watch the whole thing. If you're, have brothers, sisters go on already, this is just a repeat. Your folks will know what to do right away. The one thing that I wanted to share with you about that October 1 date, there's a couple of locks on that. Every year from here on out, they will be 1 year behind on the taxes that you use. So just keep that in mind as you're doing that. I've talked to some of your parents. I know for some of your parents it hurt that they're using the 2015 taxes. By the time you're a freshman in college filing for your sophomore year, they'll be out of that year. But again, you'll always be 1 year behind. You have to use the taxes this first time from 2015. You don't have a choice. You know, and I've talked to several of you. As a matter of fact, just one this morning, but there have been 2 or 3 that said, we haven't done it yet, Pfannenstiel, because my folks are waiting until they get their taxes done in 16. That's what they're going to use. What they told us last week is you have to use 2015. So keep that in mind as we go. Why did they change this? You know, why did they move it from January 1 to this? And this was one of the acts that Obama passed, and the colleges, the vocational schools, everybody was on the same page. We want our people to have more time to decide what schools they're looking at. And this is what gives you that extra time, that 3 months. So you don't have to wait on taxes to be done. You don't have to wait and estimate, which is always a problem for people, you know, when they're trying to figure that out. So hopefully, you know, this will be something that'll be smooth for you guys each year as you go. The things you need to file with, if you've not done this already, just simply put, you need an ID first. And I'm going to jump down to that screen. The feds put a 6-minute video on YouTube. I don't know if any of you that filed already on the FAFSA, if you watched that or not, but if you did not, this is something that just steps you through how to get the ID. Now, that FAFSA ID just replaces, you used to have a PIN number, and this is your signature that you turn into the government, that they know that it's you and they know the tax information matches you. Your folks have to have one too, not both, but at least one parent. Now, the biggest mistake they want us to tell you about, let me scroll down one more screen, you can't use the same email address for both people, for both the parent and the student. It's got to be different email addresses. And trust me on this, you don't want your parents doing everything for you. You know, I know somebody says, it's kind of good if they do things for me like that. You need to figure that out because you're going to be the one next year away from home. You'll be the one that'll end up doing the biggest share of this after that first year. Okay? So questions or comments as we go through this, just ask if you have questions. If not, we'll get to the end and then you can ask questions then too. The newest part of the FAFSA that makes it so easy, you will come up on a screen after you enter your general information, and one of the screens says the IRS data retrieval tool. And if you just read quickly what is there, if a parent or a student clicks on that, it automatically will take you to the IRS and it will upload all of your data from that year and you don't have to fill anything out. You know, previously a lot of parents, it was Mr. Friesen, Jeff Friesen, that said he got done with Jared's this year in October and he said, I'm glad I'm finally done with that. You know, he had to do it the old way, didn't get to use the data retrieval tool, but had to go line by line and enter things in. This is a piece of cake to fill out. Just simply push the button and you go. Now the screens aren't large enough here for you guys to see, but they've got the old page and there was a lot more on it. The new page is just simply a one button click and you've got it done. Okay? So if the folks are asking about that, whether you use it or not, I definitely would try to use it because then there's no mistakes on it. When you fill out your financial aid piece in the FAFSA, the first thing that happens, it goes to the feds, it goes to the schools that you choose to send it to. You get an information sheet back called a SAR, a student aid report. And there should not be mistakes on a SAR if you use that retrieval tool. Okay? If you fill it in yourself, it's very possible that there could be mistakes. The tips that they want us to share with you guys, to talk about applying early. You know what the colleges have told us, so it really doesn't matter if you apply now or if you apply later this month of November, December, or even if you wait till January. They think there's going to be money. They don't think there's a big rush. So you need to talk it over with the folks on what you're doing. And you may not even want to fill this out. I mean, that may be totally up to you. If you're a student that's, let's say that you are on your own for your education and you don't know where the money's going to come from, just by filling out the FAFSA, you're going to qualify for a minimum of $3,500 in loan money for about 4 to 5% interest rate. The maximum would be about $5,700 to $6,000. So just by filling this out, you've got enough money that if you wanted to go to Hutch for a year, you'd have your tuition, books, everything paid for. Okay? Now, it wouldn't take care of you at the big three or even the Fort Hays, the Pitt States, those schools that you're looking at, but it would get you down the road a ways, and again, it would be a low interest type of loan, and it would not be repayable until you're actually out of school and working. You have 6 months after you're out of school on those loans. The schools are telling you, though, go ahead and fill it out as you have time. Hey, all the guys in here that are 18, have you registered for the selective service? You don't have to answer it out loud. If you have not, you need to do that. And this is one thing with the FAFSA that always catches the guys on. If you forgot about that, I know Mr. Kearley always puts that poster up in the room. If you need help with that, see me, I'll help you get registered. You can fill out the FAFSA and register for the selective service at the same time. The common mistakes and common FAFSA issues, the biggest mistake they tell us all the time is kids enter the wrong social security number or they don't get the right date of birth, just simple things. And you just have to be careful when you go through it. And it's not a bad idea to have the folks check you on it. Okay? Scroll down a couple more here. One thing that we need to talk to you guys about, and I don't know what all they put on there. Okay, this is a dependent-independent issue. I haven't had anybody say this to me this year, but it comes up every year. Students say, I'm probably going to go to school free, Mr. Pfannenstiel. And I say, well, why is that? And they say, because my folks are going to kick me out of the house and they're not going to let me, they're going to claim me on their taxes. That is not a reason. It was probably 10, 15 years ago, but they closed that loophole quite a long time ago. And the college, the financial aid advisors up at Salina kept repeating that 3 or 4 times throughout. Make sure you tell your kiddos, make sure your parents hear that it's not a reason for you to be called an independent. Of course, if you're an independent, will you go to school most likely free? You would. If you're, you meet any of the characteristics that you look at up there, your schooling would probably be paid for. So take that one out of the loop. Okay? If there's any doubt on filling out the FAFSA, who do you go to? Where do you get help? I'm a resource, but I'm not the best resource. The best resource you can go to is your college financial aid advisor or your vocational school advisor, wherever you're looking at. A simple phone call, a simple email, and they will help you through it. Okay? And I know a couple of parents already have used that this fall, and it worked very quickly. They want to help you. I think it'd be back in August. I sent your folks an email and said, FAFSA is going to be live October 1. And I know how busy your folks are, and I asked, did anybody want a financial aid night? Well, I got one response that they would, but that's not uncommon. I sat with Nickerson's counselor at these meetings, and Nickerson High School, I don't know if they have 200 in their senior class or whatever, they had a financial aid night. You know how many showed up? 0. Nobody. And the reason a lot of parents say this is simple, we don't need to go through all of that. What I offer our parents, again, if you're the first child going through it and they want help, all they got to do is call, and I will help them, or I'll connect them. They could even go so far as come in and use one of the laptops or use my computer, and I'll set off to the side and help them. Okay? I want to skip the next one. We're going to go down to what we call professional judgment. And this is something I want you guys to hear, because this is it in a nutshell for some of you in circumstances you might be in. Had a senior boy a number of years ago. Lived with his dad. No mom in the family. The dad got a job. The senior boy wanted to stay here and finish school. He rented a trailer from one of our patrons in town that gave him a great rate. He went to Tyson's and worked night shift and finished high school here at Inman so he could have his diploma. We got to financial aid. He wanted to go on to school. And we got to financial aid, and he said, I don't know this is going to work for me, Pfannenstiel, because my dad got in with an oil company. He's making great money. He's going to make too much money for taxes. And what I told the young man was, you need to call the institution, which he wanted to stay here and go to Hutch JUCO. You need to call the financial aid advisor at Hutch JUCO, and you need to tell them this is a situation. I'm living on my own. I'm working night shifts so I can pay for everything. I want to go on to school. My dad's not willing to support me. And long story short, that young man got his education free because of the professional judgment. Now, what if mom or dad were hurt in an accident or ill, and all of a sudden your family's income was gone? If you contact me, I'm going to take you right to the financial aid advisor. We're going to get you set up with them. and you're going to tell them what's going on, and they're going to do everything they can to help you come up with the money through grants, any way that they can that you can get your education. So if something would happen, like we said earlier, these special circumstances, every school has the right to make a judgment on that. What if you have a business and your business is about to go under? You know, a lot of times we talk about that in the economy that we're in. One of the things that you guys can do, again, is talk to the financial aid people about the professional judgment. Okay, what does the FAFSA do? I don't know if you remember this or not, but I talked to you about this early in the school year. The way you determine if you're eligible for financial aid, guys, you take the cost of attendance to go to a school. Callie, you mind if I use you real quick at Manhattan Tech? You're Hannah. You're going to start second semester at Manhattan Tech, and I don't know what the actual cost is going to be, but let's just throw out a figure that it's $15,000 or $20,000. The cost of attendance will vary any school. If Callie had 3 other schools she was looking at, Hutch JUCO, it'd probably be $7,000 or $8,000. If she was looking at KU, it'd probably be $22,000, $23,000. If she was looking at Tabor, it'd probably be $33,000. So cost of attendance always varies. When you and the folks fill out the FAFSA, you get a statement back that lists what's called your expected family contribution. And that's what you and the folks are asked to pay or expected to pay for your education. They simply subtract the two, and if the cost of attendance is greater than the EFC, that's got to come out of your pocket. If your EFC is higher than the cost of attendance, you're going to go probably for little of nothing or free. So that's the figure. You say, well, why do we have to fill out a FAFSA anyway? That's what the government and the schools use to decide what type of help you get, if any at all. And remember, again, some of you are going to say, well, I know my folks, they both work, they make enough money, I'm not going to get anything for financial aid. But remember, just by filling out the FAFSA, you're eligible for up to about $6,000 in loan money that can get you through the year. Okay? Check your priority deadlines. State of Kansas, some of the scholarships we'll look at in a minute, they're usually April 1 or April 15. Your school's deadlines vary depending upon what school you're looking at. Washburn was in last week, and I thought she had said they've got a February deadline. You just simply have to look at the websites and talk to people to see what those deadlines are. Now, from here on down, guys, the shopping sheet, I'm not going to go through this with you. There's one good website I gave to Mr. Kearley called leavingthefolks.com, and that takes you through everything you should know about being out on your own, ranging from insurance, be it health insurance, renter's insurance, whatever you're doing, to simple things like we're going through today. The types of aid, and you should know these 4. A grant is free money you never have to pay back. That would be, in an ideal setting, you would get offered a Pell Grant or an FSEOG grant or any of the other grants that institutions give out. A loan, and you know that you're always going to pay it back. If you go into a helping profession like teaching, medical, police officers, things of that nature, you can get your loans repaid or debt taken off of them and extended over time where you barely pay anything back. One of the students, I can't remember who it was last year, we were sitting in here and they pulled it up on screen for me because they had researched this. I don't know if it's still true or not, but if you moved to Alaska and took up residence in Alaska for 5 years, your debts would be forgiven. And I'll have to check that out, or somebody check me out on that. And you know what it was? It's one of those situations where, what are they trying to do in Alaska? Bring in more people. They're trying to recruit. And this was a way to do it. So their state had something set up where you could get your debt paid off if you went and lived there. So if any of you, if that looks rosy, check it out and see if there's anything rolling on that. Do you guys know what a federal work study is? Have you ever heard of that before? Anybody? Any yeses on that? Mr. Weinberger, did you work at a work study when you were in college? Do you remember? Never. I know of several teachers around that did. They worked as referees at intramural games. They worked at the library. They worked at the media center. They worked at the cafeteria. And they were paid money that went to their education at that particular school. The only way you can get a work study is to fill out the FAFSA. And then the last thing, the scholarships. And you know, I keep asking guys, have you applied for all that you can? And I know there hasn't been a lot out there yet, but you know, we asked you back in August, have you done the FAFSA? I know you saw the one in the new career cruising. You know, for right now, that's about all you can use. The local scholarships, there's I think 3 or 4 on there, not very many. That won't take off until second semester. Okay, can you get any scholarships from the state? I want you to see this one. The board, well, let me go back first. Board of Regents, I told you this earlier. They tell us to tell you, always do the federal loans because your interest rate is guaranteed instead of going to the banks. Unless you have a contact, unless you have somebody that you're feel safe with, you know, go that route. Who in here is looking at private schools? 6. Do you know that by filling out the FAFSA and meeting the deadline, it's April 1. If you meet that deadline, you're guaranteed $3,500 at that private school. And I know Sterling does that, I know Tabor does that, I know Southwestern, they all do that. So do not miss the deadline of, what did I say, April 1 to have that in. And that's a lot. Now, if you're going public schools in the state, not true. At the public schools, it's all based on financial need. But your private schools can give that money out to the maximum every year, and they do. Okay, just one of the pitches that they have. Who in here is state scholar curriculum completers? Raise your hands, please. You guys need to fill out, it's a KBOR form that I'll get after the first of the year. You're eligible for $1,000 renewable by filling out the FAFSA and then filling out that form. And I will take you through all of that. I guarantee you in the senior class, we're going to have a minimum of 3, 4, maybe up to 7 Kansas State scholars this year because your ACT scores are so high and your GPAs are so high. And that in itself gives you the opportunity to garner this money. There have been a number of our people that have gone through here that have picked up this money. And I know you say, oh, $1,000, but $1,000, guys, any money that you get there is just put it in the bank and keep it for your schooling. Any ethnic minority should apply. The state has a Kansas ethnic minority scholarship up to almost $2,000 every year that you're in school. And that's every ethnic group. That's American Indian, that is Asian, Oriental, that does not matter. We want you to try and fill that out. I'm going to skip over the Career Tech Workforce Grant. They've changed that one. Work study jobs we've talked about. I'll skip that one. Military service. Now, Audrey, you'd be the only one in here that this one you'd want to look at because I don't think that's the one. I think the one you want is the National Guard. They'll pay for up to 70% of your education is what they say on here. I think they'll pay for the full 100%. Tyler, you might be there, you know, one of these days too. The state programs. Oops, see if I can get that up there. The fee waivers. I don't think we have anybody. You know, it goes back to 9/11 when we had people that were killed in the attacks in 9/11. The descendants and siblings of those people were granted free education by the country all the way through. I don't think we have any of that, but I know they always mention it to us. Here's the ROTC waiver program. That's the one, Audrey, you would want to look at. Who in here is looking at education as a degree? 4, 5. Enough that I need to make mention of this to you. We've never had a student at Inman do this, and I'll tell you the story why after we get done. But if you need help paying for education, $5,500 a year for your education, if you make a commitment to either go in one of those subjects or to go to one of the schools that's considered in the underserved area. Now, I don't know if you know much about the Kansas City, Kansas school district, but it has been almost wiped out. It has been in disarray for years. Southeast Kansas and the mining community, there have been some schools down there that they've classified as underserved. And then the Garden City area and some of the Southwest Kansas area where ESL is dominant. But if you're interested, you need to ask me about this and talk about it. Here's a quick story for you. had a girl literally a week away from signing for this because she knew she was going to education. And the kicker for her was, if you change your mind, let's say you go 3 years to school and you borrowed almost $20,000, you've been given $20,000 in scholarships. If you change your mind and you say, well, no, I'm not going to get an education degree, all of a sudden that money has to be paid back with interest. So when you sign as an incoming freshman and say that's what I want to do, you're locked in, and you're locked into paying that back. So you got to be committed to it, but it's a good way to come up with scholarship money if you want that. The nursing scholarship. Who in here is looking at nursing? Have anybody? You guys looking at nursing? This would be one I bet Manhattan Tech will talk to you about right away. If you can hook up with a sponsor, you can get your education matched, not only matched, but probably paid for free on that. $3,500 for an RN program, and that would be matched. That would take you to $7,000 right away. Let's say the Hutch Clinic, you want to work for them. So you go in and you just simply sit down with the people in the head department and you say, I'm looking at this program, here's where I'm going to school, would you consider me, would you hire me? If you give them a year of service for every year they pay your scholarship, you're good to go. I've told some of you this, I use my daughter as an example, went to Heston, got everything paid for there either through basketball or through the Hutch Promise Hospital paying for it. And that leads all the way up to the full-blown 4-year bachelor's degree. So there are a lot of opportunities out there if you guys want to take advantage of it. Now, the rest of the pages that we've got here, guys, are just simply sites for you to go to. And I'm not going to go through those with you because you can go through those, I think, on your own. The financial literacy piece. The financial advisors want us to come back and preach at you guys, and we don't do that. We do offer personal finance here. I know Mr. Kearley talks to you about this. He probably talks to you about it in government American history too. I don't know if I've shared this with you or not, but they were so concerned about the credit card debt. And credit card debt on school, on education, and the loans in education now far exceeds credit card debt in this country just for goods and services. So, big concern is that you not keep going in the hole on it. And you'll find more websites as you go down, just resources. Again, you'll find, we don't use this FAFSA forecaster. All you need to do is ask somebody, literally ask me or ask one of the financial aid advisors. We'll be able to tell you, whether you're going to qualify for grants or loans to a certain degree based on just general information you can give us. College Scoreboard, this is a way to find schools. You saw something the other day though on Career Cruising that you can use that will help you compare schools and that. And I think we are at the end. Okay. So that's your lecture for the day. What questions do you have? Any? And I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot to go through. So turn this thing off. Guys, do you have any questions about anything?